Hey guys, Lorcan O'Connor here, author of Binge. I'm just going to read 5 pages for you today, and I hope you like it. Introduction. They say that life is a series of ups and downs, that nothing good can be achieved without pain and turmoil, without toil and angst. But I cannot agree with those elevator operators. It is more a corridor than a roller coaster, more a track without a train, a damp and lit up underground. At times, the darkness impaled on the walls may cause one to strike a match within one's brain, if needs be, of course, but needs always be. And that darkness, is it good or bad? How can we possibly tell? It may be ferocious and destructive, but then so is the sea at times. Is the sea bad? You may make your decision. I see it as though, for the most part, the lights of life are artificial, low fluorescent bulbs of happiness that flicker ever so slightly. And that's how I came to be, with a flicker. It just as easily might not have been. The light may not have been switched on, but it was, and I am here without much else to do but recount my story to you. It is not, as I see it, what one may call a story of convention, for it does not seek to instill any particular feeling in you, the reader. I would like to use the phrase without a moment's hesitation, but it would be a grave injustice to myself, simply because I do hesitate. I clambered in the arid peaks of thought, wondering whether I had anything worth saying. I am still unsure, and yet something has been created. A beast of indulgence has been born. I sit here confused. I cannot determine the nature of existence, and this bothers me greatly, mainly because I exist. Fuck it though. Who knows anything about what or who or why they are? Who cares really? To deliver myself from such bewilderment, I have taken it upon myself to write. As the general public pushes their buttons to arrive at floors above and below, I stay level, beneath them, with nothing more than a box of matches in my pocket. But I am not a sole traveller of this avenue, not now. You are here with me, and we will have a jolly old time of it, I promise. I am placing my trust in your illuminated concentration to navigate this tunnel. I hope to explore the definition of friendship here. We are two souls alone, alone together. Yes, deep beneath all life we are one and all, and here now we may begin what sustains us as human beings. Here is a story of sorts. Chapter 1. From the silence of my bed I watched a spider making its way through the dawn. There was an obscurity to it, a vague forgetfulness in the upper corner of the room. It danced along, shameless and bare, weaving its black body beyond me in the morning's jaded fame. My head was devouring me from the inside. Each blinking pause of life encountered itself with a thud of weariness. Hazily I shook myself, fixing a pillow behind my back as I sat up. The curtain had not been drawn the night before, and pigeons sat plump at the sill, their white tails clipping the pane. Out there the world began and ended. Out there people went about themselves, an appetite of concern heavy between their lungs. Naked beneath the covers of the single bed, I reached across to the half-smoked joint on the bedside locker. Click of a lighter. Inhalation, exhalation. The ritual had become so familiar to me that I barely felt an effect from the weed. Beneath the ashtray, I uncovered a poem that had been written in the weak hours of the night. I had been so stoned that the writing was barely legible. I read nonetheless. Standing upon a directionless road, I scream, and neither hear echo nor returning call. One hand crunched the paper into a ball. The other continued with the spliff. I tossed what was left of the poem into the small bin beside the bed. It lay there now with old ashes and tissues used after masturbation. I slid from the duvet wearily. In the corner of the room, under a volume of the plays, translations, and longer poems of Percy Bysshe Shelley, I found an old pair of underwear. I sniffed them. They'd have to do. Before wearing them, I threw the roach from the cigarette into the bin, a graveyard of everything unknown. I opened Shelley as I covered myself with stale cotton. A section from Prometheus Unbound caught my eye, where the desperate titan exclaims from his precipice. No change, no pause, no hope, yet I endure. I ask the earth, have not the mountains felt? I ask yon heaven, the all-beholding sun, has not it seen the sea in storm and calm, heaven's ever-changing shadow spread below? Have its deaf waves not heard my agony? Ah me, alas, pain, pain ever, forever. I asked nothing of the poet, only read his mind. Opening the window, I frightened the pigeons, the ledge painted white by their defecation. I wore Levi's and his checked shirt. I could not locate any socks. Looking at my phone, I saw 3 missed calls from my father. One at 3:52, the other 2 at 3:57. I would never dial his number. The man was surely intoxicated and wished to verbally abuse his son. The stairs creaked beneath me and I heard muffled voices coming from the kitchen as I entered. There he is! John wheeled about manically as I walked in. He was shirtless and spilled whiskey on himself as he toasted to my arrival. Rachel giggled to herself, a Bloody Mary below her on the table. Low tones of Leonard Cohen blew from the small wireless speaker. I made a rollie from the tobacco in front of me. We thought you'd never join us. Here. Rachel pushed her drink toward me and urged me to indulge. I duly obliged, letting the stiff vodka sting my throat. I was watching them now, the plumes of their wired minds evident through action and spirit. Jono, the youngest of us, was in school with me back in the day. Rachel was a childhood friend of ours. None of us had siblings, not one, something rare in this country. We were misfits, numb to our teeth and what we could find, rebels, outlaws, and vagabonds. Naturally, our reasons for our indulgences varied. Through pleasure, Rach etched out a defiant inscription on the tabula rasa of existence. John, whose problems, it seemed, were few, was merely bored, calling habit and ritual his masters. And me? Well, I'm unsure as to what my reasons were. That much is up to you. Do not dress in those rags for me. I know you are not poor. Jono's voice croaked over that of the artist. The cunt couldn't sing if his life depended on it. Seriously, I'd choose cyanide over happy birthday to you from his frog voice any day, even on my fucking birthday. Put on some Luke Kelly. Rachel's voice was barely audible. Raglan Road flashed through the speaker. It was then that I noticed the last of the coke on the plate. I handed Rachel back her drink and licked my finger, dabbing it into the crystal white powder. A numbness came to my tongue as the chemical taste alighted it. Good? I asked, my cigarette being lit automatically. Excellent, John smiled. Have a proper go. Go on. He sniffed through his nostrils, wide-eyed as he spoke to me, and slid the plate in my direction. I saw the danger and I passed along the enchanted way. I re-rolled the tenner into a neat shoe and snorted the chop. Ooh, very tasty. At the back of my throat clung the metallic taste. I inhaled gently and let the tiny grains infuse with the blood of my body. I gave her gifts of the mind. Are you working today? Rachel queried. No, I'm off. Thank fuck. Becoming a real nuisance, this adult stuff. Then join us. Her eyes looked into mine seductively. We're getting more. John was now staring at me seriously. All right then. I've cash over there. Take the 50 and get enough. I winked at him as I pointed to my wallet on the filthy kitchen counter. The kitchen was dimly lit. It stood aloof from the rest of the house, a haven of shit talk and drug use. It warmed the soul in the way a weed growing up through a pavement would. The walls were smeared with stains from after-party rages. An old poster of Kurt Cobain was the only decor of any real note. There was little evidence of our other housemate Sheila in the room. Through the morning light we sat, waiting for a reply from one of our several dealers. Sunday mornings always marked a dry spell for coke in the city. It was drier than a goddamn desert, or a shitty dessert if you're really unlucky. We usually got our prize, however. The pain of day slipped away on days like this, when music developed us, and we became friendly over the drug of choice. MD made us talk of love and the future, getting us excited enough to prepare for some unknown treasure hidden right beneath our feet. They were excellent avenues of experience, I tell you that much. When we smoked, our hands and legs, when we smoked, our hands and legs lightened enough to gain a deeper understanding of music and ourselves. Old records spun on John's vintage player. The Stones, Buffalo Springfield, Neil Young, Patti Smith, Rory Gallagher, the Beatles, all the classics, you know. And then if we got our hands on little baggies of ket, we'd slump into unknown cradles, unable to move for an hour or two. Never overestimate your brain's defiance, John would always say, laughing. It became his motto, a kind of mantra he spoke once he was high enough. We laughed for minutes at him. You're flying now, Jono. The small clock hanging beside Kurt showed its hands. The coke was lighting me up. 8:30 in the morning. Not the ideal time to score. Fill me a stiff one, John. Please, where's your manners, boy? He grinned to himself, still topless, smoking his own cigarette now. He happily got up from the chair, shoved the fag into the cave of his mouth and fetched a glass from the press above the sink. Here you are, monsieur. Fill it yourself. Thanks, Jay. No worries. He smiled again, speaking through the smoke. Give me a touch of it. Lifting the bottle from the table, I filled Rachel's outstretched empty glass, loading my own afterward. Luke Kelly had finished, and Elliot Smith's Between the Bars wept among us like the smoke of our rollies. There was an itching of cocaine left on the plate, enough for 3 small lines, I was sure. I can't give you any more, guys.